Well, one thing I won't do after shitting all over the court is play the victim card like Sid the Sloth does after every bad game she has. All 4 of her wins have come against the bottom 3 teams in the league. I promise I'm going to drop 40 on Chicago when we play them again. I'm going to make her trademark the phrase, Caitlin owns me next.
J.C. Sheldon exploded after the WNBA finally punished Caitlin Clark's attacker, and that's not an exaggeration. One eye poke, one brutal takedown, and the entire league lit up. The so-called punishment, just a flagrant one. And Sheldon, she was furious.
When you are good at basketball, you're pretty, and you got grit, those 3 things make you bad to the bone. And I think this is one of the new trends that's going on in the WNBA, in my personal opinion, is that not only will you be good at basketball, but you also, some of these women will look like women, right? And you still look like dudes. But now they look like beautiful women that are playing basketball.
But is this just about one foul? Or is something much bigger unraveling in the WNBA?
What are your thoughts? I don't think we've asked you this, about the WNBA as a whole, the moment they're having right now, and Caitlin, and kind of this new era, seemingly, of women's basketball?
I love it. I love competitiveness. I think it's great for the game. I think when people watch basketball and they think of basketball being physical, being competitive, being a little chippy, they think about us. But I think W is just as competitive and maybe even more chippy. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
Something that could collapse everything it's built around Caitlin Clark. Because if the league thought the $2,000 fine was enough, they seriously misread the room. It was supposed to be a routine possession, just another defensive rotation between Indiana Fever and the Connecticut Sun. But when J.C. Sheldon stepped up to guard Caitlin Clark, it turned into something much uglier. Sheldon didn't just reach in, her hand went straight for Clark's face and poked her directly in the eye.
What really got this escalated, so that was called a flagrant.
The crowd gasped. Clark stumbled backward, clutching her face, clearly in pain. And yet, no ejection, no warning, just a flagrant one.
The ball is so far away. Like, the ball is here! The ball is here! The ball is here! How did she double eye poker? The ball is here! Like, how did the referees watch this and come to the conclusion that it was a flagrant one? How did they come to the conclusion it was a flagrant, not a flagrant 2? Like, how did they come to the conclusion that it is a flagrant and not a flagrant 2? I would have had more respect if they said it was a no call, because they could at least feign ignorance.
A foul labeled unnecessary contact, but not enough to suggest intent. That's it. And for Sheldon, a $2,000 fine. You might think it ends there, but it didn't. Moments later, Sheldon grabbed Clark's arm and, according to slowed replay footage, dug her nails into her skin.
And Caitlin Clark in this particular game kept complaining that she was like scratching her arm and complained to the officials about it. And honestly, the entire game, they were jawing at each other. They were chirping at each other. Marina Mabrey always on the side, coming to her teammates' defense.
And then, as Clark reeled, Marina Mabrey came flying in, shoving her to the ground like it was a wrestling ring.
As you guys can see here, J.C. Sheldon is guarding Caitlin Clark. She swipes her in the eyeball. Caitlin Clark nudges her off because J.C. stays in her face. And then Tina Charles runs over and is kind of wagging her finger in Caitlin Clark's face. And then Marina Mabrey comes out of nowhere and chucks her to the floor. Now let's watch this in slow motion. Here, J.C. Sheldon is guarding Caitlin, swipes her in the face. There's one. Going for the ball, swipes her in the eyeball. Caitlin's gonna have to start wearing goggles. And then Caitlin pushes her off of her, like, why are you still in my face? Marina Mabrey, bad out of hell, chucks Caitlin Clark to the ground.
Clark wasn't just getting fouled, she was being targeted, and no one was protecting her. Within hours, hashtags like Ban J.C. Sheldon were trending. Fans flooded Sheldon's socials, calling it the dirtiest play of the year. One video of the incident hit over 1 million views in a day. The caption, "This isn't basketball, it's a disgrace." Jimmy Fallon asked on his show, "What's going on in the WNBA? Protect Caitlin Clark at all costs."
What is going on? Protect Caitlin Clark at all costs, please. Enough of this. Please.
Dave Portnoy didn't hold back either, calling Sheldon and Mabrey jealous loser punks. Even late-night hosts and sports journalists were openly comparing the WNBA to WWE, saying the league was turning into a sideshow. And when Sheldon wasn't suspended, when the league handed down just a fine and moved on, fans weren't just mad, they were furious. Because this wasn't the first time. It's part of a pattern. Clark has been shoved, undercut, elbowed, and now poked in the eye again. And every time, the referees look the other way, the league shrugs, and Clark's left to defend herself.
What was going on with the chip it is there, and what explanation were you given for the tech that you got?
I'll take the official questions. There wasn't an explanation for the tech that she got. You know, I think it was pretty obvious that stuff was brewing, right? When the officials don't get control of the ball game, when they allow that stuff to happen, and it's been happening all season long. All season long. It's not just this game, it's been happening all season long. This is what happens, right? This is what happens. You've got competitive women who are the best in the world at what they do, right? And when you allow them to play physical and you allow these things to happen, they're going to compete. And they're going to have their teammates' backs. It's exactly what you expect, right? Out of fierce competition.
But here's why that's a massive problem. Caitlin Clark isn't just a rookie. She's the face of the WNBA. According to finance expert Dr. Ryan Brewer, Clark accounted for 26.5% of the league's entire economic activity in her rookie season. That's one player driving over a quarter of the league's revenue. Let that sink in. The Indiana Fever went from being a low-attendance team to selling out arenas overnight, all because of Clark. Their franchise value jumped from $90 million to $340 million in just one season. She's not just selling tickets. She's breaking records, moving merch, and pulling in viewers who've never watched a WNBA game before. And yet, she's being treated like a disposable rookie, shoved to the ground, poked in the eye, and left unprotected. Fans aren't having it. They're asking, would the NBA ever let this happen to LeBron James or Steph Curry? If a player blindsided LeBron, poked him in the eye, and slammed him to the ground, would that player still be on the court? Exactly. But then the unexpected happened. JC Sheldon snapped. After the punishment was announced, Sheldon was seen storming off the court, slamming her water bottle and refusing interviews. Sources close to the team say she was overheard saying, "This is a joke. They're throwing me under the bus." To Sheldon, this wasn't just a fine. It was a character assassination. She felt like the league made her a scapegoat to protect their golden ticket. And maybe she's not wrong, because now Sheldon is trending. For all the wrong reasons. She's being painted as the villain, the cheap shot artist, the symbol of everything wrong with how the WNBA treats its stars. And she's not the only one lashing out. Other players have stayed silent. But behind the scenes, the resentment is growing. Some believe the league is bending everything around Clark, from the rest to the media spotlight. In Sheldon's eyes, the league is picking sides, and it's not hers. Meanwhile, the fans are escalating fast. One online petition calling for Sheldon's suspension and salary dock gained over 25,000 signatures in 48 hours. Others are tagging NBA Commissioner Adam Silver, begging him to step in since, quote, the WNBA commissioner won't. Fans want more than just suspensions. They're calling for multi-game bans for flagrant acts against high-profile players, automatic ejections for hits to the face, fines tied to salary percentages, not flat fees, and referee accountability reviews tracked publicly. Quoted, some even suggested fines be paid directly to the victim, in this case, Caitlin Clark. Because the current system, it's not working. And if the WNBA keeps ignoring it, fans say they'll stop watching altogether. This isn't just about JC Sheldon. This isn't even just about Caitlin Clark. This is about whether the WNBA is willing to protect the very thing that's keeping it alive. Because if this keeps happening, if Clark gets seriously injured or decides she's had enough, the league won't just lose a player. It'll lose its biggest draw, its biggest revenue stream, and possibly its future. And Sheldon? She just became the lightning rod for all of it. Her outburst proves what fans have suspected for weeks. The locker rooms are divided, the players are on edge, and the league is playing with fire. The WNBA is at a crossroads. One path leads to stricter rules, better protection for players, and a serious investment in the league's future. The other leads straight into chaos, where stars like Clark walk away, fans check out, and sponsors pull back. Right now, everything hangs in the balance. So the real question is, will the WNBA step up before it's too late? This isn't just basketball anymore. It's personal, it's political, and it's high-stakes business. So, is JC Sheldon the villain in all of this? Or is she just the latest casualty in a league that's lost control? Drop your thoughts in the comments. If you're fired up about how this league is being run, hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications, because trust me, the drama is only just getting started.
All right, you guys, we need to talk. I just finished the Indiana Fever versus Connecticut Sun game. That was a wild one. That was so unexpected. Everything got spicy. Everything got negative.
Nobody expected this. What should have been a heated WNBA game exploded into one of the wildest brawls of the season.
So yesterday, the Indiana Fever played the Connecticut Sun. It was a basketball game, but the basketball of it got way overshadowed by other elements.
It all started when Indiana Fever star Caitlin Clark took a brutal eye poke from JC Sheldon. But instead of settling down, the game spiraled out of control. Sophie Cunningham stormed in, launching a shocking attack on Sheldon in the final seconds. What happened next stunned everyone. Multiple players were thrown out. Referees faced historic fines.
Wow, is Mabrey going to stay in this game?
And now the entire league is under fire. Some are calling it the ugliest moment of the season. Others say it's just the beginning. What really went down on that court? And why is the WNBA handing out its harshest penalties ever? Let's break it all down.
Hi, I'm Caitlin Clark, guard for the Indiana Fever.
Gets bumped, will take, and hit from three.
The Indiana Fever had come into this game fired up. They were battling through a tough stretch of the season, and Caitlin Clark had been taking more hits than any rookie should have to endure. Opponents were getting physical, some would say too physical. Tensions were already high when the Fever hit the court. The first few minutes of the game set the tone. Hard fouls, trash talk, players bumping each other after whistles. You could feel the frustration building, and Caitlin Clark was right in the middle of it all. The league's biggest star targeted again, but nobody saw what was about to happen next. Midway through the game, in a tense moment, JC Sheldon got tangled with Caitlin Clark. Suddenly, Sheldon reached out and poked Clark in the eye. The crowd gasped. Clark winced in pain, clearly shaken. Cameras caught her wiping her eye as she tried to shake it off.
I think in the face. That's what Clark didn't like.
But this was no ordinary foul. Fans knew it, the players knew it, and the energy in the arena instantly shifted.
As you guys can see here, JC Sheldon is guarding Caitlin Clark. She swipes her in the eyeball. Caitlin Clark nudges her off because JC stays in her face. And then Tina Charles runs over and is kind of wagging her finger in Caitlin Clark's face. And then Marina Mabrey comes out of nowhere and chucks her to the floor. Now let's watch this in slow motion. Here, JC Sheldon is guarding Caitlin, swipes her in the face. There's one. Going for the ball, swipes her in the eyeball. Caitlin's gonna have to start wearing goggles. And then Caitlin pushes her off of her, like, why are you still in my face? Marina Mabrey, bat out of hell, chucks Caitlin Clark to the ground.
Indiana's Marina Mabrey didn't hesitate. She charged in and bumped Sheldon, letting her know the Fever weren't going to back down. The officials quickly stepped in, trying to regain control, but the mood had already changed.
Caitlin Clark in this particular game kept complaining that she was like scratching her arm and complained to the officials about it. And honestly, the entire game, they were jawing at each other. They were chirping at each other. Marina Mabrey always on the side, coming to her teammates' defense. because we all know Marina Mabrey. But really, the boiling point was Sophie Cunningham's hard foul on JC Sheldon, and I truly think that this was a message that she was sending to the leagues, to the officiating, just like to everybody, because it is, if you are watching any of these games, you are seeing that there is a disparity in the way that it's being officiated, and the Indiana Fever are held to a standard that no other team is held to.
From that point on, every possession felt like it could ignite another fight. With less than a minute to play, things finally boiled over. JC Sheldon drove hard to the rim for a layup, but before she could finish, Sophie Cunningham came flying in and absolutely took her down.
Sheldon comes up with the steal. Sheldon goes coast to coast. And here's we got another.
It wasn't subtle. Cunningham's arms were up. Her body slammed Sheldon to the floor. The entire arena erupted.
Trash talk had been happening everywhere. Technicals, flagrants, all this stuff had been happening. And as JC Sheldon was running down the court for a fast break layup, Sophie Cunningham grabs her and hard fouls her. I think this was Sophie. This was the last 46 seconds of the game. They were up by a lot. So I think it's a possibility that Sophie was trying to send a message to the league, to the officiating, to everybody that, listen, like, the Indiana Fever have had enough, and this is what's going to happen.
Players sprinted toward the scene. Coaches were screaming. Fans were on their feet, some cheering, some shouting in disbelief. It looked more like a boxing match than a basketball game.
Let me see a combo, though. Ooh.
The referees scrambled to get between the players. After several chaotic minutes, they made their call. Sophie Cunningham, JC Sheldon, and Lindsay Allen were all ejected from the game.
Wow, is Mabrey going to stay in this game?
The crowd was stunned. 3 players out, and plenty of others could have been tossed too. Social media exploded. Fans called it one of the dirtiest moments in recent memory. Clips of the brawl spread instantly across TikTok and X. One post even joked, might need to replace the hardwood with a boxing ring after this one. But the fallout was just getting started. The WNBA reviewed the game footage and acted quickly.
Now, after this, you guys, of course, the referees are going to review the play because that's a lot of contact going on right there. That's a lot of unnecessary contact. That's a lot of non-basketball contact happening during this play, right? So the 3 referees that I like to say, they got them straight out of Sephora, because I don't think these referees have ever refereed a professional basketball game in their life. They took these referees, they were at the monitor, they looked at it for, I'm not even exaggerating, you guys, like 15 minutes. 15 minutes they are watching this play over and over. They are...
Referee Blanca Burns was hit with the harshest penalty the league has ever handed out, a massive fine and public criticism for losing control of the game. Cunningham and Sheldon were both fined and suspended. Other players involved in the chaos also received penalties. And the league's reputation now under fire from all sides. Some fans say the league waited too long to step in. Others argue the players had no choice but to fight back after weeks of uncalled fouls and rising tensions, especially with Caitlin Clark getting targeted game after game. Even commentators are split. One ESPN analyst said, the WNBA can't afford another incident like this. It's making headlines for the wrong reasons. But the bigger question now, has the league truly lost control? Because one thing's for sure, with Caitlin Clark still taking heat every week and players like Sophie Cunningham ready to fight back, this won't be the last time we see fireworks on the court. So after all this, where does the WNBA go from here? Fans are still arguing about what really caused this fight. Was it the refs losing control, players going too far, or is it simply the result of a league that hasn't done enough to protect its biggest star, Caitlin Clark? One thing is clear, tensions are still running high, and the next matchup between these teams, it's already being called a must-watch game. Will the players tone it down, or will we see another explosion on the court? And how will the league respond if this happens again? Because if the WNBA can't stop the targeting of Caitlin Clark, and if players like Sophie Cunningham keep taking matters into their own hands, this season might just be getting started. Stay tuned.